Right, hello again, it's James here, and I'm going to be doing a video that a lot of you have been asking for, and I was intending to do all along, honestly. And that is a little update on my, it was titled Heartbreaking Rare Plant Unboxing. It was quite heartbreaking, but as you will see right now, much less than I thought it was going to be. Okay, if you haven't already watched that video, I recommend going back just so you can see what I was working with initially. But just for now, I might put a little picture up here of the 3 plants that I received from Indonesia. You can probably see that they're not looking too great. And I'm just going to show you what I've done to bring them back from the brink of death. A little bit of the necromancy I've been working over the past few weeks. Basically a month, a little bit over a month, I think, since I got them. I'll double check the timestamp in the last video. Right, so basically, I did the same thing with all 3 of the plants when I first received them. Through shipping, they all lost their leaves, but the hardest thing to deal with was the root loss. So most of them, apart from the anthurium, which had a little bit of, because the roots are quite thick, almost like tubers, sort of. They're not, but they're very, very thick, like orchid roots. Some of those survived. They didn't really do anything for the first 3-4 weeks. Now they are, as you will see. Yeah, so the main thing was just to get the roots growing again, and once that happened, things started moving quite quickly. So, you can see sort of out the corner here, I have a couple of Ziploc bags. So I'm going to start by showing you the verrucosum / melanochrysum hybrid that I received. I haven't checked this the past couple of days, so I'm not 100% sure what we're going to see when we open up the Ziploc, but just so that you know what we're working with on the outside, I have a Ziploc bag, quite a large one. I reuse these all, I wash them out, reuse them, so there's no waste or very little waste. And I have some sphagnum in the bottom there, but that's just left over from when I had the cutting directly in the sphagnum. This is currently in a little pot, because I tried to move it out of the Ziploc into my small terrarium. Didn't work out so well, so I moved it back in, because this is really high localized humidity, and it's really easy just to pop this up on a windowsill or something so it gets a little blast of sunlight as well, and just warms it up, and that I found really speeds up the growth. So obviously it's a little bit puffed up, so what I do is I just seal it all the way to the very tip, make a small opening, and blow some air in there just to keep the sides of the Ziploc off the cuttings, because when the wet is touching the plants, all sorts of nasty rot happens, which was part of the problem, as we will talk about in a moment. So, this right here is my melanochrysum verrucosum cutting. It is a cutting now, or part of it is anyway. It arrived as a full plant, minus the leaves and the roots. I initially rooted it as an entire plant, but as you can see from the top of this one, it was just brushing the top of the Ziploc and it started to rot, and I was worried that it was going to spread down through the whole plant, so I snipped it in 2 and started rooting them separately. And thankfully, they've both really started to do some wonderful things. So I'll show them to you in this, and then I'll take this one out. This is the cutting, and I'll just show you what's happening there. So you can see, where are we? There, it's probably not focusing, but just on the side of this one, there's a tiny little shoot coming through there, which is brilliant. And obviously this is the longer one that goes down there, and there are some roots developing in there. I checked about a week ago. I don't want to take that out, I don't want to disturb them at this point, I'm just going to let them keep growing. But the other one has much smaller roots, so I'm a little bit less worried about disturbing it. Just pull it out here. Amazing. Right, so I obviously cut off the plant right here, and as you can see there's a lovely shoot coming through there, and right there is a little root sticking out. So this is doing very well. This will obviously take a while to root fully and to grow into a full-sized plant. But it doesn't really matter. When I buy these plants, I'm not expecting, or I'm not buying them so that I have a full-size plant. I'm buying them to experience their growth pattern, to see how they develop, and this is part of the fun. So this one, I'm sure once the shoots start growing, will grow a little bit faster. This one will probably grow a little bit more slowly, and I'll most likely pot them up in the same pot so that I've got a a larger amount of growth happening at the same time. Right, so I'm going to stick that back in there. I will reseal it afterwards so you don't have to watch me do that. I'll move straight onto the second one so that we don't spend too much time on this. This is the one I was most worried about, honestly. It had the most roots. This is the Anthurium Warapianum. But honestly, in the last week or so, it's started doing something which I hadn't really been doing for a while. So I'm going to take it out. I haven't taken it out for about a week, so we'll see if there's any root development underneath the sphagnum. Right. Ooh, things are looking nice. Yes, fantastic. Okay, it's going to be quite tricky to show you because I don't want to shake all of this sphagnum off. Right there, you can see that there's a new leaf shoot coming through, which isn't doing anything. That's been growing for about a week at this point, so not expecting it to really do very much. That's great, that's very exciting, but the most exciting thing is the root growth. As you can see, there's one right there. I don't know if you can see it growing. Oh, look at me, little beauty vlogger. But then throughout the whole of the plant, it's going to be quite hard to show you. There are small little root growths, which really shows that it is happy and growing, which is fantastic. Right up there, there's another one just next to the stem, and that's fantastic because the roots are the most important part. I've had plenty of plants that have died back all the way to the little stump and they've grown back up because their root stock was healthy. So that's the most important thing. And that is just high humidity, sphagnum, warmth and consistency. I feel like if you constantly disturb your cuttings or your plants when you're trying to save them, then it kind of narrows it makes it a little bit harder for them to recover. So plants know what they're doing. You just give them the right conditions, stick them in there and leave them. And with these Ziploc bags, obviously there's there's no airflow in there at all. So every few days I just open it out, give it a little breather, spray a little bit more water if I feel like it's getting a bit dry in there, and then I just leave it again. Yeah, don't overdo it at all. Right, so that's number 2. I hope this is very exciting for you. This has been really exciting and interesting for me to watch over the past. I'm going to leave it there. Obviously, I'll stick these back in safely once we're done. Yeah, it's been really interesting for me to watch over the past couple of weeks. The last one is the one that's doing the best. I said during the video that I thought this one was going to do the best because its stem was really strong and there was no sign of rot or anything, and there was already a shoot ready to come through. This is the Philodendron glorious, so the hybrid of Melanochrysum and Gloriosum, and as you can see, it has not only rooted, but it has produced its first fabulous new leaf. Slightly warped, obviously, because it was stuck inside the leaf sheath whilst it was being shipped, so I'm sure it was a little bit damaged, but it is perfect. It's velvety, smooth, green, and happy, and there are even some aerial roots growing out the sides. So this treatment worked extremely well for this. I had it in the Ziploc bag for about 2.5 weeks. And then the leaf started pushing a bit too high for the Ziploc, so I stuck it in my terrarium. And then when it was coming through, when this leaf was coming through, it went straight up and hit the top of the terrarium. So I took it out, but then it leaned over, so it could probably still go back in there. But it's actually doing very well out of the terrarium, so long as the moss is kept nice and moist. And yeah, so I'm doing this basically as an update for those of you who asked, because there was quite a lot of interest. If you receive a plant that is not looking too good, if it's been shipped from far away, or even if it's been shipped from quite close but it gets stuck in the post, there's always a way to save it, especially with aroids, philodendrons and anthurium. They are very hardy and adept at rerouting in moisture, because in the wild they get knocked about, they fall off the main vine, reroots down on the forest floor. It's part of their biology. So you just have to give them the right environment, the right level of humidity, the right warmth, the right light, and they will bounce right back. So yeah, there you go. Some of you might not find this very interesting. I would recommend going to watch the first one again if you haven't already, just to give you a little bit of context. But those of you who've been asking, this is the update. This is the way that I've saved my cuttings. I'm sure there are plenty of other techniques, and obviously I am still learning how to deal with these tropical plants. They're not what I've been growing for longest, but it's a very interesting learning curve. So there you go. Thank you for watching. I hope it was interesting to you, and if you want to follow some updates on these plants as they grow, develop new leaves, and get bigger, go check out my Instagram, somewhere up here, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I'm going to be doing plant hauls, I'm going to be doing wish list things, I'm going to be doing all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.